Alright guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to use our remote tuning device. Lots of you have bought our remote tuning kits, which consist of this device, obviously custom tuning from us, as well as a cold side intercooler pipe and or AMT cooler for you AMT folk. I'm going to do a video of how to use this, how to set it up, how to connect it to the truck, how to run through the read and write process, so we make this as seamless and easy for you as physically possible. So let's get this plugged into the truck and we'll go from there. Alright, before we even plug anything into the truck, two things. One, highly recommend connecting a 24-volt battery charger to the truck's batteries. One of the very few things that can cause issue with flashing ECUs is lack of battery voltage, so please get a battery charger and connect it to the truck. The next one I want you to do, let's turn the ignition on. I want to turn off anything that's drawing power. So let's turn off the fan. Let's wait for this lovely Isuzu head unit to turn on. And we are going to turn this off completely. What we don't want is the head unit connecting to your phone automatically via Bluetooth while this process is happening. Can cause communication issues with the power gate. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, hold the power button, turn it off. Obviously there's different revisions of the Isuzu head unit, but we're going to make sure that that is off. And when we do cycle the truck's ignition as a part of this process, just make sure that stays off. If it starts trying to boot, when it boots up, immediately turn it off, just to try and avoid any issues. So the connector we are looking for is in here. Let me get my head in here. This connector right here. That's called the OBD2 diagnostic port. We are going to be connecting to this with our power gate to tune our truck. So let's grab our power gate. Obviously in the box you have this cable, connect it to the power gate itself. Get our OBD2 connector. Alrighty, so that is step one. We have our power gate plugged in. As you can see, the LED light has lit up on the power gate, and we are now going to run through how to connect to this thing. There was a pamphlet in with the power gate with a QR code on it that is going to enable you to download this power gate app. So that's step one. Let's get the power gate app downloaded. Make sure that if there is any updates available, we do those updates. All right, when you open your PowerGate app, you're going to be greeted with this screen. If you don't already have an account, go down to this sign up section and put in the relevant details to create an account. If you do have an account, now is the time for us to input this. All right, we're going to open the application. It's going to prompt you to connect a PowerGate. Mine looks slightly different because obviously I've connected lots of PowerGates before, but basically we're going to pair a new PowerGate, and it's going to walk you through how to do it. So obviously, connect cable to PowerGate, plug it into the diagnostic socket. We have already done that. We know that the PowerGate is powered because of the LED light, so we're going to hit next. Next, obviously just read these, make sure your Bluetooth, your location services, etc. are on your phone, and it's going to scan for a PowerGate. It's already found the PowerGate, we're going to click on that. So this is very important. So the PowerGate and your phone need to be connected to the same Wi-Fi network. It's how a lot of the data transfer is done. So either, obviously I'm at Stay Tuned at the moment, so we're connected to the Stay Tuned Wi-Fi, but if you're not, or you don't have access to a Wi-Fi network where you're doing this, I recommend you use the hotspot on your phone. Please make sure you've got a good, solid internet connection. Do not try and do this at Uluru. So it's going to now ask me for a Wi-Fi network to connect to. So we'll go through and do this process once it finds it. Yeah, we've got Stay Tuned Performance. Put in the password of your Wi-Fi network. And once you input that password, you'll get a successful connection to the Wi-Fi network. We are now ready to do bits and pieces on our truck. So it'll go through and it'll get the PowerGate thing. Now this is very common. Your PowerGate, I mean, depending on when it was manufactured, there'll most likely be a firmware update available for the PowerGate. So it's going to go through now and do that firmware update. It's normal for the LED lights to change color-wise. It'll go through and finish this process. All right, so you're going to be greeted with this screen, which basically wants you to select a vehicle. Now there is only one option. this option is correct. So we select that, we hit the continue button, and now we're given an option of ECU and DTC. So once we've done a few more actions, this DTC section is basically allows you to read and clear fault codes from the ECU, which is really, really useful. That's why we recommend these devices for any of our customers who are doing remote travel, where you may not have access to a code device should you have any issues. But what we want now is we want to go to the ECU. It's going to open up a manual, basically show you how to do absolutely nothing, just say got it. And it's going to come through and it's going to give us a few options that we can do with our ECU. And these need to be done in a certain order. So we've got ID, read, and write. So ID is basically just querying the ECU for what software version is in there. Reading is physically taking the software out, putting it up in the cloud so that we can then do the tuning for you. And writing is what we're going to do once we've already done the tuning. We've let you know, hey, your file is ready. You're going to use this particular process to put it back in the truck, and it even gives you estimated time. So around 23 minutes for a read, around 9 minutes for a write, and ID is very, very quick. So we'll go ahead first. We've only got one option to start with, which is ID. Now this device is going to step us through exactly what it wants. So it's already telling you about the recharger, which battery charger, which we've already spoken about. So we're going to hit OK, because of course we've got a battery charger on there. Turn the ignition on. Please check connections, press OK to continue. Very simple. Make sure our ignition is on. Press OK to continue. It's going to go through the communication process. It's going through now IDing the ECU. Great, so now it's asking us to turn the ignition off. Okay. You actually see we've got a push notification basically telling us we can now read the ECU. Identification says, well, you need to read the control unit. So we'll hit next, and now we notice that reading has become available. So we are going to step through the reading process now. So we'll click on reading, hit next. Same thing, connect the vehicle battery charger. Turn the ignition on. Okay. So it's going to go through that ECU identification process again. It's really just checking to make sure that the ECU is what it expects. Completed successfully. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the read. It's going to ask, are we happy to proceed with the reading? I don't know if your phone was dead or something's gone with the truck. This is your time to cancel. Once we commence this process, you cannot turn the ignition off. You cannot disconnect your phone. So make sure everything is good to go. Okay. Reading ECU. As it said, this is a reasonably long process. It's going to give you a status. I'm going to sit that there. I'm going to leave my phone on the seat here. Let that read. As I said, about 23 minutes, give or take. We're going to come back when this is done. As you can see, 2%. And we'll move on to the next part of the process. Alrighty, so we're just coming to the end of our read now. It's exporting the read. As you can see, it used start to finish sort of 7% battery. Right, turn the ignition off. Remember, this is a brand new phone. Go through and didn't export a data log and a few other bits and pieces. ECU reading successfully completed. Right, operation successful. You can now associate the vehicle with PowerGate. So we need to select that. That's basically saying we are locking this device to this truck. And then once it's locked, you can't unlock it. So we want to obviously confirm that. Beautiful. You know, so we've got writing enabled now. Now, obviously, I haven't had a chance to write you a custom tune file yet, but we'll come back once I've done that, and we'll use this write function, and we'll put a file into the ECU, and that will conclude our tuning. Alrighty, so time's passed. I got a push notification to my phone from Powergate telling me that my manager has put in a mod file for me to write into my truck. So, obviously in this case, I am the manager, but, you know, play along at home. Now I am just reconnecting to my Powergate, which is plugged back into the truck, so that we can go through the write process. Again, it'll go through the normal updating of firmware and blah, 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 blah. This time I'm actually connected to the hotspot on my phone. I'm out in front of my house and I cannot for the life of me remember what the Wi-Fi password is, so I'm far too lazy to go and look it up. So, alright, we're going into ECU. Yep. Exactly the same as last time, except remember we'll have that write option available. And here we are, see writing is available, so we're going to click writing, next, blah, 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 blah. Basically, it's just asking, are you sure this file that you're about to select is correct for the vehicle which you've selected? As long as you haven't randomly changed trucks, it will be fine. Got it. Now we've got two options as we can see here. So we've got a stock file, and that stock file is the one we read out of the truck earlier. And then we've got this number and light tow. In this case, this is the one that I've loaded in there for us to use. So next. So basically it's now just downloading that file from the cloud so that it can start using it in the write process. Again, battery charger always. All right, turn the ignition on. Ooh, helps if we get the keys. Ignition is on. Now, I am going to come here and turn that off. I'm going to turn that radio off as soon as it starts because I haven't done that since we stopped. Right, head unit off. Okay, now we'll continue. Okay, we'll go through an ECU identification, make sure the ECU is still what it thinks it is. Identification completed successfully. Okay. See with the writing. Yep, ignition's on. That's all good. Phone's got decent battery. Okay. Turn the ignition off. Okay. Battery charger. Turn the ignition on. Okay. And here we are. It is now writing the vehicle's ECU. Exactly the same process as before. This one won't take quite as long, so we'll come back when that's done. Alright, we're coming up to the end of the writing process. Again, very similar to when we read the ECU. Turn the ignition off. Okay. ECU written successfully. Go through all its checks and balances. Done. This means we are finished. No errors, no nothing. We are good to go. We do not have to repeat that process. We are now ready to drive our tuned truck. Congratulations.